So, welcome everybody to Maine Adaptive's Campfire conversation. I see some new faces and some returning faces, so thank you very much for joining us. Today, our special guest is John Pelletier, who is a volunteer for our pickleball and tennis program, and is also a skier as well with us. So for anybody that's new to our Campfire conversations, we are recording, so that way people can watch it later at their own time, or if they're not able to attend it live, they still get a chance to listen in on the conversation. We will ask that at least for the beginning, everybody will be muted, and we'll get John introduced, but there'll be plenty of time for everybody to ask any questions or share their experiences with pickleball, which is our topic of the day. So, and we'll also share a little bit of information about our pickleball program that we started last fall and winter, and we've continued into the summer, and we'll explain how COVID has changed that a little bit. But we'll get started. So if anybody has any questions at any time, definitely feel free to use the chat feature, and we will do our best to, I'll do my best to read it aloud. And then later on, we'll open it up to everybody, okay? So John, would you like to give us a quick introduction?
Sure. First of all, this is my first time, other than yesterday, on Zoom. So this is new to me, but it's pretty cool. I've done FaceTime and Skype, but this is my first time on Zoom, so it's pretty cool speaking to all you people. And the second thing is, I want to say that I miss everyone. I miss all the Maine Adaptive Fridays and the donuts and the grills and having fun, hitting some tennis balls. And I miss the Thursday pickleball up at the point, and I miss everybody from skiing. So the good news is that we're selling our house in Mass and we're moving to Maine. So I will see you all much more frequently, I hope.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. So we'll be around, Dave. You and I can partner up. Sounds good.
Cool.
So
you want me to talk about how I got involved in Maine Adaptive, or how I got involved in pickleball?
how about you start with how you got involved with pickleball?
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, as you guys know, I was a competitive wheelchair tennis player for quite a while. I started playing wheelchair tennis in 2008, and I made it up through the ranks and played a lot of competitive tennis. And then I started teaching with you guys. It was around 2015, 2014, and having a lot of fun in tennis. And we would go down to Florida in the winter. And while we were in Florida, I would play with a group of people playing tennis down in Florida 3 or 4 times a week. And they started playing pickleball. And most tennis players don't like pickleball players because of the noise. It's a foreign noise. It's like a hard noise. The ball is hard. It doesn't have that nice thump sound that a tennis ball has. So I kind of avoided the pickleball courts, and we had our own separate courts. And one of the pickleball players, this was probably around 2015, came over to me and says, John, his name was Joe, and he said, John, he said, could you do me a really big favor? And I said, what? He said, there's a fellow down here, a pickleball player on Marco Island down in Florida, named Michael Lear, and he was a really good pickleball player, and he has a disease where he keeps falling down, and he wants to stop playing in a sports chair. And would you like to meet him and help him? And I said, I would be happy to. So he gave me his number. I called him. Very next day, Mike showed up at the tennis courts, and with his own tennis chair. He had just gotten it fitted for it. And like anybody else who has, and he had never been in a wheelchair before, His disease, I think Kat posted it on today's Facebook, his disease is called Lewy body dementia,
Yeah.
which is, did anybody see that video today?
I saw the video. Yeah. It was,
yeah.
What a story.
Yeah.
Great guy. I mean, this guy is probably the nicest man you ever want to meet. Anyway, so he said, "Can you teach me how to use the sport chair?" And I said, "Absolutely." I said, so I started doing like I do with you guys in Maine. I started doing drills, mobility drills, and so he said, and we played a little tennis. And he said, I really don't like tennis. He said, but I love pickleball. He says, how about you teach me how to move in a sports chair, and I'll teach you how to play pickleball. I said, great. So it was a match made in heaven. So that whole winter, 3 or 4 days a week, he and I were playing pickleball. I pretty much had I played tennis a couple of times when people needed a fourth, but I played, so he and I were the only wheelchair players playing, and he played at Marco Island Racket Club. And we have now 4 courts at Eagle K where I play. So we went back and forth playing, and he taught me how to play pickleball and all the nuances, everything. And I taught him how to move in a chair. And he was amazed how well I moved in a chair. So the first year, even though he was a much better pickleball player than me, I really cleaned his clock. But so this guy plays every single day. So the next year we went back, and he had improved his mobility very much. And so it was even, but his strokes were amazing, and his instincts, because he had been playing before, his instincts were great. So we were almost on an even level. So by the time we get to 3 or 4 or 5 years, I mean, he's not even in my league. He's so good. This guy is amazing. He's like, I don't know how to describe him, but he's older than I am. But now he moves so well. He strikes the ball so hard, because all he does is play with, usually 4-0 and up players. And so he's asked me to play in a couple of tournaments with him, and I feel guilty because I'm not as good as he is. He's just climbed above my level. And so he got me involved in it. And that first couple of years, so I came back home, and they started playing at our indoor tennis club here in the winter. And I started playing in Bristol, Rhode Island, Lakeville, Mass. Lakeville, Mass has a really good program. And then the YMCA started picking it up. So pickleball down here, you can play at a variety of venues here. But I started getting pretty good at it. And there's one other wheelchair tennis player down here named Mike Lip, who was an interesting story. He and I have partnered up in a lot of tournaments, and we're going to be playing we're supposed to be playing in the U.S. Open this past year, and we're going to play in the U.S. Open next year if they have it. But he's gotten very good. He was a ranked ping pong player, stand-up ping pong player, and he had polio. He was one of the last cases of polio in Massachusetts. So he has one leg brace, and he walks with crutches. But he wanted to play wheelchair tennis. So I got him involved in wheelchair tennis. And then when I started playing wheelchair pickleball, he liked pickleball better because it's more akin to his ping pong game. So he and I play a lot together. He's a very, very good player. We play, one up, one down mostly. We play together. A lot of times when we were practicing for the U.S. Open this year, he and I would play, all stand-up players. We'd play together, and we did very well. There's a lot of things we can't do, but we chase down lobs and stuff. But he and I played very well together. And although during the pandemic he has not been playing much. What else did I want to tell you about my pickleball development? About 2 years after I started playing in Lakeville, I went to a tournament, and I was playing. This is a funny story. The gal who runs the program and her dad, her name is Kim Mitchell, and her father's name is Bob Hall. And he's like, I call him the godfather of pickleball in New England, because he's the Engage, which is the paddles that I use. He's the Engage representative for all of New England. Anyway, he saw me playing, and he was like, "Wow, you're really good at this." He said, "Would you like to be sponsored by Engage Pickleball?" If you saw that video, Mike O'Leary's also sponsored by them. I said, "If you think they want me," so they sponsor me. I get all free stuff. I get free paddles and free clothes and free hats and all of that stuff. But subsequent to that, we played in the tournament, and it was really funny. He's 80 years old now, this guy, and he's a really good player. And he was playing with a beautiful young blonde phys ed teacher. So that in you didn't use your own names in this tournament, you used nicknames. So the name of their team was the Fox, the young beautiful phys ed teacher, and the Fossil with Bob, because he was 80 years old, the Fox and the Fossil. So Bob's daughter, Kim, and I played together. And so the name of our team was Heels, because she likes high heels, and Wheels. So our team was Heels and Wheels, and which was pretty cool. We ended up winning a bronze medal. Bob and his partner won the gold, and we ended up winning the bronze in that tournament. But we had a lot of fun. And most recently, I sent Brandon a photo. My son Joe, who I think a lot of you guys have played with, he's a really good pickleball player. He and I played at the lower level in the North Conway tournament, and we medaled in that. We had a lot of fun a couple of weeks ago. And it's nice having some young legs to chase down lobs and balls. And he and I played well together. So it was a lot of fun. But I just have to say, as Michael Leary said in his video, I am completely addicted to pickleball.
Yep.
I am completely addicted to pickleball. Another quick story. I used to play tennis with a bunch of guys, and they were all stand-up players, and I was the only wheelchair player. And they were mobility impaired. A guy had a couple of hip replacements. One guy had a knee replacement. And anyways, so we usually play on Wednesdays. And when I told them I wasn't playing competitive tennis anymore, they said, "Could you teach us how to play pickleball?" So I said, "Of course." So for the last year or so, we've been playing pickleball. So we played yesterday down at a country club here in Westport. And one of the guys couldn't show, so I asked one of my mixed doubles partner to come and play with me. So come to find out, she and her husband, who since passed away, they own a business, and their bank is a bank here in southeastern Mass. And the guy we were playing with is the CEO, president of the bank. And the other guy we were playing with was one of the commercial loan officers. So my partner Arlene and I played them yesterday. We played like 5 matches, and we completely kicked their butt. And she said, and this is her bank, so she said, "At last I get to get back at my bankers for charging me all this interest over the years." It was a lot of fun. Yeah, so we had some great matches yesterday.
Yeah.
I think, from my perspective as a wheelchair tennis player and instructor, and pickleball player and instructor, wheelchair, from my perspective, it is so much easier to teach and learn pickleball than it is tennis. Primarily because the court is so much smaller. The court is only 20 feet wide by 44 feet long, and it even shortens up after that when you consider the kitchen is 7 feet on either side of the net. So if you take 7 feet off of 22, you got a very limited space. So being in a wheelchair, I can cover and you get the same 2 bounce rule that you do in tennis. I can cover pretty much any space in front of me. When a ball is lobbed over my head, I have difficulty. I can't get it if it's a real high lob. Try to get it anyway. But So moving forward in pickleball and cutting off the angles is so much easier than tennis. For me, in a chair, that's my perspective. The other thing about wheelchair pickleball is that I can play on a very competitive level with anybody stand up to a certain level. Once they get up to like really good, like I can play with anybody up to a 3-5 level in pickleball. Once they get 3-5, 4-0 and above, then it's not competitive anymore. Unless I have a really good fast partner like my son Joe, or my son John, or somebody young like Brandon who can chase everything down. But so as far as being more suited for wheelchair racket sport, I think pickleball is the ticket as opposed to tennis. Now, I do love tennis, and I will continue to help the tennis program. But I think pickleball you can play all year round. Very inexpensive to play indoors, even if you go to a facility to pay. For instance, I'll give you just our indoor tennis club here. You can play tennis for 1 hour, 4 people, $60. So it's $15 an hour to play indoor tennis at the local tennis club. I'm sure in Gorham and Providence and Portland and Falmouth, the indoor clubs are very similarly priced. At the same facility, you can play pickleball for 3 hours for $5. So
Wow.
it's a hell of a lot of difference, and it's much more affordable. And the way pickleball was developed, it was developed as a social thing. So like when I play at the various YMCAs or in Bristol or in Lakeville, or even in Dartmouth indoor tennis, they'll put what they call a whiteboard up on the sheet. So when you're done playing, you just write your name. So when and if you want to play with somebody else, you have to wait. But if you want to play next, you write your name down. And when people finish playing in their game, they just sign their name up under yours until you get 4 people, and then you're the next court in line. So it's kind of a social thing. You get to know everybody that's playing. Whereas tennis, you're only playing with the same 4 people. Whereas in pickleball, you're playing with all different people, all different levels. And they do sometimes reserve courts for the upper levels, intermediate levels, and beginner levels. So depending on where you want to play, you may have to wait, you may have to not have to wait. But it's a very social thing, and you get to know everyone. I've met some great people playing pickleball all over. Now, Maine Pickleball, I'll just give you my Maine Pickleball spiel. I started playing with you guys at the Point, and I play with a big group in Freiburg, Maine. Freiburg has 4 pickleball courts outside, and Freiburg just did a huge field of Dreams field house. And they have 4, in the winter, they have 4 pickleball courts inside. And they play Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday. Harrison has 4 pickleball courts now in their Field of Dreams. In fact, they have a tournament coming up in a week or so. The 18th, I think, if the 18th is next Friday, it's next Friday. Harrison has 4 courts. They play every day except Sunday. If you ever want to play in Harrison, Gloria, they're there every day at 8, I think it's 8:30 in the morning, except Sundays. Great group of players. The people, because Harrison's kind of on the fringe towards Auburn, Lewiston, there are a lot of people coming from Auburn and Lewiston, Naples, Norway, what's that town? Stoneham. A couple of people from Stoneham. In Freiburg, you get a lot of people from Conway, East Conway over the border, North Conway, Bridgeton, Harrison, Naples. So you're getting a lot of people coming and playing there. They also have great program in North Conway and Intervale. By the way, the programs in Harrison and in Freiburg are completely free. There's no charge. In North Conway, they do have a charge for their outdoor court, minimal charge. You got to join for the season. But in their indoor at the community center, I think it's $3 to play.
Yeah.
When you want to play in North Conway, so it's fairly inexpensive. But Freiburg and Harrison are completely free. How about where you play, Dave? Do they charge you at the senior center?
It's like $3.
$3.
At the community center, it's $3.
Oh, nice.
Very inexpensive, and you play like 3 or 4 hours.
That's great.
Yeah, and you just rotate. Put your paddle down on a bench, and once the game is done, you pick up the paddle and you go.
Right.
Doesn't matter. You can't pick team. It's whatever paddle you're next to, that's your partner.
Yep, they stand the paddles.
And it's kind of cool because you get to rotate and you play with different people all the time.
Right. Yeah, that's a lot of fun. That's a lot of fun.
So for those that may not know exactly what
That's cheap,
pickleball,
$3 for 4 hours.
Yeah. Oh, actually, Brandon, there is an app you can get for your phone if you want to learn about pickleball. Let me give you guys this app, and it's a great thing to learn about pickleball. It's called Pickleball FYI, and you can get it and you can download it right to your phone. Pickleball FYI, and it tells you everything about the game. I'll just briefly tell you, for those who don't know anything about it, it's a racket sport. It's played on a court which is 20 feet wide by 44 feet long. It has a divider down the middle, just like tennis. At the net, there is what they call a kitchen or a non-volley zone, which is 7 feet on either side of the net. And you don't go into that non-volley zone, so it shrinks the court even more. You can go into it if the ball bounces in there, but other than that, you pretty much stay out of it. It's played with a paddle, which is shaped like a ping pong paddle, but about 10 times the size. And it's played with a wiffle ball. And I didn't realize, I was looking at that Pickleball FYI, it can have anywhere from 24, I think, to 42 holes. So I always thought indoor.
Because there's an indoor and an outdoor.
There's an indoor and an outdoor ball. The indoor balls, I believe, have less holes, and the outdoor balls have more holes.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like the wiffle ball that you play baseball with. Yeah. Wiffle ball. It's about the same weight, different shape. It's a round ball with holes, and it makes an awkward sound. It's tough to get used to the sound at first, but it's so much fun. It's as I said, it's so much contagious. The scoring is like the old volleyball scoring rules. You can only score if you're serving. Okay, and it's difficult. The scoring is difficult. You have to learn how to do it. So in what I do, if you ever play pickleball with me, when I score, I always say my score, just like in tennis, my score first, serving the other side, their score. And then I always add what server you are, first or second. And then I always add something else, so I can remember people's names. I always tell person like Dave, I'm serving to you, so I will remember their name, because you're playing sometimes with 30 to 40 people, and you never remember their names unless you repeat it 10 times. At least I won't. Yeah. So when I do the score, I always do my score, the opponent's score, what number server I am, and who I'm serving to, and I repeat their name, so I'll remember their name, as otherwise I'll forget. So it's worked out well, because I actually met a lot of people at tournaments and stuff where they'll see me and I'll remember their name right off the bat. because I've said their name 10 times when I played them, 20 times. So that helps. What else can I tell you? It's played with a net very similar height to, just maybe an inch shorter than a tennis net, an inch or two shorter. It's mostly played in teams. You can't play singles. You can play skinny singles. You can play full court singles. But most of the time, it's doubles. Most of the time, it's doubles. For those of you who have played, my favorite drill, and I think I did this with a couple of students up at the Point, my favorite drill for pickleball that really sharpens your game. If you want to improve in pickleball, you have to learn how to hit what they call dinks, which in tennis parlance is just a short drop shot. You want to hit dinks in the kitchen. And the key to hitting dinks or drop shots in the kitchen is that in the kitchen, you cannot go into the kitchen. You can reach, but your feet or your wheels have to be at a certain distance behind the line. Wheelchair players get to go in just about a foot into the kitchen, into the 7 feet, up to the back wheels. Stand-up players have to stand behind the line. You can't even stand on the line. You got to be behind it. So if you're drop shotting the ball in the kitchen, especially to the outside corners, you can open up the court. So if I hit a dink shot into the deuce, the opposite deuce side, or the opposite diagonal side to my left, that player has to go over to get that ball. And if they go over to get that ball, they open up a hole in the court you can run a freight train through. So as soon as they get that ball, flip it up, if you're ready, you can hit the ball straight in to the open court. So you want to, if you watch any of the videos of the really good players, they play, like we played, that fellow came, he was like a 5-0 player, Rocky Clark, came to the Point last year, I think last February. And that guy hits virtually every shot he hits is in the kitchen. He's amazing. He's absolutely amazing. But the drill that I always tell people to do, and my son and I, Joe and I did it all summer, and you only need 2 people to play it. You play diagonally skinny singles, and you hit a serve. You always want to hit your serve deep. So you try and hit your serve deep to your opponent. Your opponent returns it. You have to let it bounce. He has to let it bounce before he hits it, and you have to let it bounce in the rules. And then the server does what they call a third shot drop, which is a famous phrase. You want to get that ball, and you want to hit it just over the net into the kitchen, into the diagonal kitchen. And then after that, every hit of the ball, every stroke has to be in the kitchen diagonally. So you just play the point out diagonally. And if you lose the point, the other guy gets the serve. So you go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. By the time you're done playing that drill for 1 hour, you've got your service practice, your return practice, your third shot drop practice, and your mobility practice. And it's a phenomenal drill. And we played it for about a half hour yesterday before we played matches with the 2 bankers. And the 2 bankers were finally getting it after a while yesterday. And a lot of fun, but that's probably the best drill to improve your game. Anything else you think I should talk about, Brandon?
Well, yeah, I was just gonna, reiterate that, like you said, pickleball is great because of the smaller court, like you can just cover so much ground. We've also seen, at the Point, John's been helping us teach both stand-up and sit-down players, and even the stand-up players can, even if they're not able to really move more than a couple steps, they can still cover a good amount of the court, which is really good. And we've seen countless people just really pick it up so much quicker than tennis. Some people still love tennis, and I still love tennis, but pickleball has just been, it's been such a good sport so far for so many of our community, just to get into the sport and get kind of up to speed and get playing. And we're able to see a lot more people get into matches a lot quicker and not necessarily have to do, nothing but drills for the first day, like what we might do for some tennis players. So it's been a lot of fun to see so many people pick it up so quick.
Yeah, tennis is my son, who's a tennis instructor, says that to be proficient at tennis, you have to hit the same stroke, same forehand, the same backhand, thousands and thousands and thousands of times. When you watch the professionals playing, like at the U.S. Open, I mean, you see their strokes, their backhand. I mean, they've hit the ball probably hundreds of thousands of times. So to get really proficient in tennis, you have to really, really, especially from a chair. From a chair, it's so much more difficult than stand up, primarily because of the serve. You're serving, at 4 feet, 3.5 to 4 feet tall, as opposed to 6 feet, 7, 8 feet tall. When after you're lifting the ball up with your pad, with your racket. And pickleball is an underhand serve, and it's very easy to do in a chair. I saw some video of Gloria hitting the ball and Herb, and they were doing great. Yeah, they were doing really, really good. And it's a great sport. I am so glad that my friend Mike O'Leary, and if you haven't seen that video, please watch it. He's just a wonderful guy, and he's probably the best wheelchair pickleball player in the country. I'm telling you, for his age, he's amazing. He's absolutely amazing.
I did share the link to his video in the chat as well. So if anyone is interested and doesn't use Facebook, it is available there, and we can email it out to folks as well.
Oh, great. Yeah, he's just a wonderful guy. He's an inspiration to me, really. Yeah, he is.
Yeah, I watched it last night. Kat sent it over to me, and absolutely well worth the watch. And you can just tell when he's talking about how much he uses the word addicted in such a positive way, that he's so addicted to pickleball, and it's just brought so many positive things to him in his life. So that's it was such a really cool story.
It is. He's a wonderful man. Wonderful man.
Yeah.
You want to open the questions, or?
Yeah, I was gonna say, if anybody has any questions for John about pickleball, you can go ahead and unmute yourself, or you can raise your hand, put it in the chat. If we don't have any questions right now, then we can also go around anybody that's played pickleball, if they have any favorite stories. If they want to keep it short and sweet, we can go ahead and do that too. So does anybody have any?
Oh, sorry. Ty had a question in the chat. I think it's gotten a little buried, but
okay.
He wanted to know where you were in Florida.
In Southwest Florida, in Marco Island. It's a little, where the Red Sox play in Fort Myers, it's about an hour south. Is Fort Myers, Bonita Springs, Naples, which is the pickleball capital of the world. And then if you go further down towards the Everglades, Marco Island is there. My dad lived there for about 20 years, so that's why we've been going down there to the same condo complex that he used to live at before he passed away. So we have a lot of friends down there. And it's a beautiful spot. It's a beautiful spot.
Does anybody have any questions right now?
Hey, John, maybe you could go over the tools in the kitchen again.
Sure. Okay.
I think.
Go ahead, Dave.
No, I think most people, you can't hit in the air, right?
Correct.
You have to let it bounce.
Correct.
Okay. I don't think I mentioned that before.
This happened last night because the bankers were tennis players and they haven't played that much pickleball. And the ball, I did a third shot drop, and the ball went over the net into the kitchen. And the older of the two bankers, the guy who's the president of the bank, he went in the kitchen because the ball bounced in the kitchen. He hit the ball over, but he popped it up right to me. So I hit the ball right at him. See, if he's standing in the kitchen,
Yeah.
he can't touch the ball.
Yeah, you have to get out.
You have to get out. So
Right.
I hit it right at the best strategy is to hit it right
You
at
have to let it bounce, get out. Yeah.
Get out. And it's tough in a chair. So what I like to do when I'm playing in a chair is I like to actually turn my chair to the edge of especially if I'm playing with a stand-up player, I turn my chair to the far edge of whatever side I'm on, the do side, the right side, or the ad side, the left side.
Yeah.
And I play it like a corner. I'm outside the kitchen, but I'm playing it like a corner. And especially if I'm on the ad side, like my son Joe is a lefty, so he's playing on the deuce side, on the right side. I'm on the left side. So I'm playing the kitchen way over and just hitting short balls, and he's covering about 2/3 of the kitchen. And so he's a lefty, so he can cover most of the court. So it works out really well. It's very difficult. It takes a while to learn in a chair how to cover the kitchen. But maybe we could do, maybe at the point or when we stop playing up there, we can start doing some kitchen drills. And they have a lot of different drills you can do to see who wins, and and they have they call them dink wars. You do dink wars with each other. But the rules, getting back to the rules Dave mentioned, the wheelchair can go into the kitchen just about a foot. The front casters can go in up to the rear wheels. I'm trying to get the rule with Michael Leary and a few other guys changed so that'll actually be 1 foot. Because the problem is, if you're in the kitchen with your two front casters and your back wheels are behind the line, and you have to turn to your right to get a shot, your front wheel is going into the kitchen.
Yeah.
Now so we're trying to get the rule modified to one of two ways. Either you can go in a foot, because the reason being you can go in the kitchen in a chair is they want your torso right at the line, at the kitchen line, just as if you were standing up. They want your torso there. So the forward part of your body is below in the chair. That's allowed to go in the kitchen, but your torso has to remain out. That's the theory behind the rule. In practice, it doesn't work that way. At that tournament in North Conway, they had referees, and they asked me to explain the rules. There you go. That's a great shot.
Oh, wow. Nice grab.
That's really cool. Okay, so you got the non-volley zone. We can go into that non-volley zone just about, that's 7 feet on either side of the net. We can go in just about a foot or 1/7 of that in a chair. So it gives us a little advantage in that we can go a little further than a stand-up player. So if you have long arms like me, it really helps hitting shots to the side and above. So that really helps. So that's the rule. You can go in just about a foot up into your rear wheels. The other rule is just like in wheelchair tennis, we get up to 2 bounces of the ball. So I defy anybody, even, my son maybe, or a few guys who are really good drop shot dinkers. I defy anybody, and that's why I like to do that drill. If I'm at baseline and somebody dinks it over into the kitchen, you should be able to, in a chair, be able to get that ball, just like a tennis ball, on a second bounce, because the court is so short.
Yeah.
Should be able to do that. So that's another great drill for wheelchair players, to learn how to get, just, how we do in tennis, and I have Kent or Brandon just drop the ball over the net, and you have to come from behind the baseline to get the tennis.
And get it.
you should be able to, in a sport chair, be able to get that ball by the second bounce. And so that's another thing we can work on this winter is, so, you know, it's nice to play pickleball games and stuff, but you still got to do drills, because if you want to improve your game, you have to drill. I drill every day that I play. I do drills with someone for a half hour, an hour. In Florida, we drilled. I got there an hour early before everybody started playing, and I drilled with players who want to improve their game. If you want to get competitive at this game, just like tennis, not as much practice as tennis for your strokes, but just to get the feel of the game, you gotta practice. You gotta practice. You gotta practice. So what I would suggest you do, if you're in Maine, find an area that plays pickleball. You can buy a net really cheap on Amazon for like $100. It's easy to set up. I can set it up from my chair very easily. Get a couple of paddles. You can get cheap paddles at Walmart. By the way, I have a lot of, when we stop playing, I have a lot of paddles that I will be giving to players if they're interested. These are the high-end paddles, $150 paddles. So I got a lot in my backpack, so, and I don't use them all. So I'd be happy to give Dave. Dave, I don't want you playing with that wooden paddle anymore.
I knew you'd bring that up. I knew you were going to bring that up.
You
don't like my wooden paddles.
You gotta stop playing with some. If you want to really start improving your game, you gotta stop playing with the good stuff.
I think it's time to move. It's time to move.
I think Judy had a question.
We'll talk into it.
Go ahead.
Judy, are you still there?
I am. Hold on.
Hi,
I was
Judy.
gonna, two things I was gonna, hi, John. Two things I was gonna say. Saco has 6 courts, and it's $2 to go. Play for.
XL Sport, yeah.
That's great.
The other thing I was gonna say, I came in late, but did anybody ask you where the name came from?
Yes. No, they did.
Several stories.
That's an interesting. It's
Lots of stories.
Yeah, there was either a doctor or a dentist out on the West Coast developed the game and named it after his dog. From what I understand, Pickles.
Yeah, that's the story.
Pickles. And
used to chase balls. Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess they created this game out of thin air just for recreation, and it caught on. It's taken a while to catch on, but in the last probably 8-10 years, it's just exploded. When I used to play in Florida tennis, everybody was playing tennis. Now, no one is playing tennis, and at our complex, we'll have 30 people playing pickleball. It's crazy. It's just like everybody, and the reason why I think is because it's not as much movement, people don't get hurt, it's easy to learn, easy to play, and it's a social thing. You're not just playing with 4 people, you're playing with 30 or 40 people, and it's a social thing. So especially old people like me, we want to be socialized. So it's a lot of fun. We have a lot of fun, have a lot of teasing, a lot of competition, and we play games for beers afterwards or whatever. We have a lot of fun. Not this year. Mary, you're saying not this year in Florida. Actually, it was funny. In Florida this year, we were in Florida till June this year. We stayed late because of the pandemic. We were allowed to play pickleball on our complex as long as we had 10 fewer people on the court. And we limited the players to the complex. No one from outside the complex could come and play. And the police actually came and checked every day through our complex to make sure we had 10 or fewer people playing. So we had 4 courts, which could accommodate 16 people, but we only used 2, one at either end. And we only had 2 courts going at once, but we got to play throughout the whole pandemic. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah. So we're coming up on our last 10 minutes before we close, but I was going to mention kind of what we have been doing to continue to play pickleball this summer during COVID. And I'm sure some of the others that are on right now that have been to some of the pickleball programs may agree with me, but we've been basically we've been doing small programs, so basically kind of up to 4 or 5 participants and a couple of volunteers or staff. But at the beginning, we do our temperature checks and ask our questions. But then we assign a pickleball to each person, and they get a marker and write up some either symbols or letters, numbers, something to identify that ball as theirs. And that's your ball for the whole session. So you're only picking up just your ball. And if it's not yours, you use your paddle to push it over to whoever it is. And that seemed to work really well. And if somebody does accidentally pick it up, we use hand sanitizer and set that ball aside and grab another one and continue. But we've been doing small groups, playing doubles, and once we're playing, people can put their masks down, or they can choose to continue and play. But it's been a lot of fun, and it's definitely something that it was a lot of fun at the point over the winter, and we're doing our best to find an option for this winter as well. But it's been a lot of fun. We've been playing in Bethel at the new basketball courts that do have lines. We bring our 2 portable nets and we set those up. And then we also play at Pineland as well, which we kind of use a modified court, basically just use the service boxes and the tennis net. And that gets us pretty close to a pickleball. For those that might be new, don't feel too intimidated. We have some groups that love to just play and try to volley back and forth as long as they can and laugh and laugh and laugh and laugh. And others that are more looking for some of that competitive edge that John's talking about, and definitely give each other a run for the money. So Kat was saying that Gloria gave her a run for her money in Bethel the other week.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah.
So if you're ever interested in trying pickleball, it's not too late. We have a couple more opportunities before the end of the fall here, and we may add a few more. But definitely send us an email or check out our website, and we can get you guys in. But it's been pretty cool to play pickleball. It's a nice laid back environment, and super fun. Can't wait to get John back out there.
Yep, well, I'll be becoming a full-time Mainer pretty soon, so we'll be seeing you guys a lot this winter, I'm sure.
Good. Yeah, we're looking forward to that.
Hopefully we'll have
the point not to have it anymore, or
we're checking in with a point. A lot of facilities right now are unknown as to what they're doing and what they're allowing, but we're working with them, seeing what we can.
The point's still right.
Right now, yes.
Yeah, David, the Point's doing some limited activities for the church components that they have there, but as far as being open to the public, not yet. Yeah.
Does anybody else have anything to add on pickleball, or any questions, or if they wanted to share a quick fun moment that kind of hooked them on pickleball? I know I've had several really cool experiences playing with a bunch of different people at Maine Adaptive, both at the Point as well as this summer, and it's fun to see some people that are just learning, and they're just trying to get the ball back over the net for a little bit, and then we just suddenly get a volley going back and forth, and suddenly it's the ball's being hit right by me, or like Gloria the other week, she she's done it to me like a couple times, the signature John Pelletier move where he'll pull you in close to the kitchen and then he'll just plop
Then
one
lob it.
over you, and then and if you're in a chair, it's a pretty hard shot to get to. So those are always the fun parts where even when you lose a point, everybody's just laughing and having a good time. So
Yeah.
those are my favorite
so
parts.
So much fun.
It is. I like watching people when they came and serve, and you know, as the weeks go on, they're dropping like it's no big deal.
Yeah.
I kind of that was my biggest problem first, that I couldn't serve. Like I was hitting all the places, couldn't get it into the box. Would serve in the kitchen all the time, and as I kind of took advice from the people, it kind of came naturally. But I just like watching other participants start off the way I was and progress to where they're serving pretty much
Oh
what they
yeah.
want.
What this goes to show everybody is that anybody can play this game. Anybody can play.
Anybody, yep,
Guy in
anybody.
a wheelchair, someone who had a stroke, anybody can play this game and have fun. And it's you know, it's not as in tennis you have a lot of ground to cover. It's not as much ground to cover. It's
Well, yeah,
social, and it's a lot of fun. And if you want good competitiveness, I mean, you can become very competitive even in a chair. You can become very competitive, and that's what's great about this.
I usually with all stand-ups.
Yeah, well, I do too. I would say 9 out of 10 times I play, it's with stand-up.
Because there's not many people in wheelchairs around.
Right.
Kat and I were doing dinking. Remember, Kat, that day we played? We were doing that dinking. I said, let's practice. Remember that, Kat?
Yeah, I do, Gloria. And your game has gotten so good, and your serve now, I think John would be proud to see you play because you have a very aggressive and fantastic serve.
Oh, that's great.
And I was just running all over that court to
Oh,
try
you were
to
playing stand-up and she was playing in a chair?
Yeah.
Oh, you weren't playing in a chair?
No.
Oh, you
I
should
was
have
playing in a chair.
Cat. Come
Yeah.
on. And she's
That
still
was the fun thing.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
It
And it was
was.
like it was hot. It was a sweaty and super fun day.
That's funny. That's great. Well, I see the smiles. That's what everybody's looking for, right, Brandon? We're looking
Absolutely,
for the smile.
yeah. And anybody that's been to any of our tennis programs will look forward to John attending any of our pickleball programs and look forward to the donuts at the end too.
Oh, absolutely.
Donuts.
Gotta have the donuts.
Yeah. So I want to say thank you to John as we're wrapping up here, and I appreciate him taking some time and sharing his experience and his story with us. And I look forward to seeing John hopefully soon. But before everybody leaves, I did want to mention that our next Campfire session in 2 weeks, so we do it every other week. So September 24th, same time, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, we'll have Eric De Silva, who's been listening in today on today's Campfire. He'll be talking about bicycles, and he's from the Maine Bike Coalition. So he's got some fun stuff to talk to us about. So if you're interested in that, definitely check us out. We'll have information going out shortly. But thank you very much, John, and thank you for joining us.
I miss you all. We'll see you soon.
Thank you, John. We miss you
Take
too.
care.
Good to see everyone.
All right.
John.
Okay,
Thank you,
bye.
guys.
And John, just one more quick question. Do you have information about the programs in Harrison and Freiburg?
I think if you Google, you can either Google Freiburg Rec,
Okay.
Harrison Rec Departments.
Okay.
Freiburg and Harrison, and it'll pop right up.
Okay. I just tried. Kira Lynch asked about the program, so I was just trying to follow up with her.
Freiburg Rec Department or Harrison Rec Department, and I think they'll come right up.
Okay. Thank you
Want
so
to
much.
play, anybody? Anybody? I'm in Bridgeton if you want to play.
We all want to play.
Hi, Dave. I miss you, Dave.
Me too.
Right answer.
Right. Well, is there any other answer?
All right. Love it. I love it. Hi, Judy.
Hi, Gloria. Golf on Monday, Gloria.
Oh, I'll be there, honey. Don't you worry.